the Honourable Minister for Diversity, Inclusion and Persons with Disabilities.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, before I begin, I want to let you know that I'll be sharing my time with the member from Willowdale. Madam Speaker, last week the RCMP independently and publicly released extremely disturbing and serious conclusions. These conclusions are about the involvement of the agents of the Indian government in serious criminal activity taking place in Canada, including coercion, extortion, interference in democratic processes, spying, arson, and homicides. In fact, there are links to Indian diplomats collecting information about Canadians and passing it along organized crime groups which have directly targeted the members of the Sikh and South Asian community. Let us be very clear, Madam Speaker. These acts are a grave violation of Canadian sovereignty, and we will never tolerate any form of foreign interference in Canadian society. As Canadians know, Madam Speaker, since the allegations that the Government of India were directly involved in the murder of a Canadian citizen on Canadian soil, Hardeep Singh Nijjar, Canadian diplomats and law enforcement agencies made repeated attempts to work with the Government of India, but each time they failed to cooperate. After almost a year of inaction, obstruction, and delays from the Government of India, earlier this month, our security agencies presented Indian officials with clear and conclusive evidence that 6 Indian officials were involved in serious criminal activity linked to extortion, spying, arson, and homicides of Canadian citizens. And still, Madam Speaker, despite these very serious allegations, the Indian government has refused to cooperate in this investigation. Therefore, our government took the necessary steps to expel 6 Indian diplomats from Canada. And in the interest of maintaining public safety and protecting Canadians, the RCMP independently made the decision to disclose this information to Canadians in effort to disable and disrupt these violent criminal activities taking place in our communities. Let us be clear, Madam Speaker, we will always stand up for Canadians' right to feel safe and secure in their communities. We will never tolerate attempts from any foreign government to intimidate or to harass Canadians. Right now, as we speak, our police agencies and law enforcement agencies are working around the clock to disrupt and disable this transnational criminal activity by the Indian government, and to ensure that everyone who is responsible for this grave violation of our sovereignty is held accountable. The RCMP has been working alongside police agencies across the country, Madam Speaker, including in my own community of Brampton, with the Peel Regional Police, in Toronto, in Surrey, in Edmonton, to leave no stone unturned in their investigation. And I want to take a moment to thank them for their tremendous leadership, the work of our men and women in uniform, and for their collaboration at every step. At the same time, Madam Speaker, our security agencies are also working with our allies in the United States, the United Kingdom, Australia, that have come to support us in our investigation. They have joined us in urging the Indian government to cooperate in this investigation. Madam Speaker, Canada is a country that is rooted in the rule of law. We will never back down when it comes to protecting the rights of Canadians. The right of an individual to express their opinion and peacefully protest are fundamental aspects of our democracy, aspects which all democratic nations should be working to protect. Madam Speaker, I know that the events of this past week have left many members of the South Asian community, particularly the Sikh Canadian community, including my own in Brampton West, feeling anxious, upset, and even scared. And I want to take an opportunity to speak directly to the members of the Sikh community. Madam Speaker, as a proud Sikh myself, I want all Sikh Canadians to know that we see you, we hear you, and we stand with you. And know that your federal Liberal government, under the leadership of our Prime Minister and of our colleagues that are here with me, are there every step of the way to ensure accountability for those responsible and to protect Canadians and to defend Canadian sovereignty. Madam Speaker, I've also heard a lot of concerns from the members in my community about the impact that they think is having in our relationship with India. Let us start by first acknowledging the fact that no one wanted to be in this situation. Canada and India have deep historical and cultural ties that I see every single day in my own community. Our families are connected, our cultures are connected, and we want this to be resolved. And that's why we've been trying to work with the Indian government through our security agencies, through our diplomats, and through our law enforcement agencies in order to find some way to resolve this and protect Canadians and to ensure that there will be accountability and consequences. But unfortunately, Madam Speaker, the government of India did not choose to work with us. Simply put, we find ourselves in this situation because time and time again, the government of India refused to cooperate. Right now, the safety and security of Canadians is our top priority, Madam Speaker. We will continue to do everything in our power to keep Canadians safe. And if anyone in the community has any information that could help an investigation, or if anyone is feeling unsafe, please get in touch with your local law police service. Madam Speaker, during these uncertain times, we know it's not always easy to know what is true from what is false, particularly in online spaces. And we know, Madam Speaker, this is especially difficult due to the misinformation and disinformation campaigns from India targeting the South Asian community, as has been presented by the Justic Hughes report on foreign interference. But we must, Madam Speaker, be firm in recognizing and rejecting false rhetoric to stop it from entering our media and our community spaces. That is why, Madam Speaker, it is so critical that we stay grounded in the facts and listen to our law enforcement and national security agencies as we seek the truth together. Over the coming months, Madam Speaker, there will be full investigations and trials that will come before the courts. I want all Canadians to know that there will be justice and accountability for those who are guilty through our independent judicial system. However, Madam Speaker, right now, as we navigate these challenging times, the feeling of anxiety, we know that our community is resilient. We know that our community is strong. And we know that our community will get through this together. Madam Speaker, let me also take a moment to remind the Government of India that we will not tolerate any form of intimidation, harassment, or harmful targeting of communities in Canada. This, Madam Speaker, is a time for unity. Right now, we as Canadians, regardless of political stripes, faith, race, or religion, must unite and be steadfast in our values as Canadians. Our values of freedom, of acceptance, of democracy, above all, Madam Speaker, our fundamental belief in the rule of law. But, Madam Speaker, I have to say, it is disappointing. It is disappointing to see that in such a critical time for our country and for Canadians, that the leader of the Conservative opposition has repeatedly, and I say repeatedly, refused to step up and protect Canadians by getting his security clearance. Canadians, Madam Speaker, expect their leaders to be informed and to take action when it comes to things such as important as national security and sovereignty. Yet, he is the only party leader in this place, Madam Speaker, who has refused to get his security clearance to know the facts and to protect our country. Let's be very clear, Madam Speaker, foreign interference costs lives. The safety and security of Canadians and our democracy is at stake here. This is not a political matter. This is a matter of national security. And it is shameful, Madam Speaker, it is absolutely shameful to see the leader of the Conservative opposition continue to put his own political interest above our national security and the safety and well-being of Canadians. However, Madam Speaker, unlike the Conservatives, on this side of the House, we are listening to our national security experts, and we are doing everything in our power, Madam Speaker, to keep Canadians safe. And we will continue, Madam Speaker, to stand up for national security, for the protection of Canadians and our democracy. Thank you. Merci.